the Hasidic minhag to that when a woman gets married, not just to cover the hair, but the hair of the woman is shaved off. Right?
Really? I know.
Yeah. So there's Hasidic groups, probably every Hasidic group, but there are Hasidic groups that
that's their policy, that's what they have to do.
Yeah, when a woman gets married, what they do is they basically, the idea being is that a married woman's hair is supposed to be covered. So in order to now why they do this, a whole different reasons why they do this, but the point is a married woman's hair is to be they shave off the married woman's hair, and this way there won't be any problems with her showing her hair in public because she doesn't have any hair.
Wow, it's pretty extreme kind of.
Yeah.
Even for like orthodoxy, because but that's like woman sitting in like the back of the bus in like Israel would be like
not every Hasidic do it.
No.
My sister is Hasidic, she doesn't.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's a minhag within certain Hasidic groups.
They cover her in gold.
The fact is,
gold.
The fact is though, is that what you raised though, or the way you presented it, is the fact is that they're denying this woman her natural beauty, right? Okay. So the fact is really there are many people who were upset by this minhag. Not every minhag that is done within even segments of Klal Yisrael. There are certain groups who have a minhag and certain groups who think that minhag is wrong. So there's a lot of disagreements within Jewish thought and so forth, and there's certain people who do things and other people think it's wrong to do it. Okay, so they're clearly with the shaving of the hair, there are other people that didn't like that idea. The point is that usually when people critique this issue, it almost comes across like it's a secular value that critiques the issue, and there's a perception that they're really religious, and the only reason you don't like this idea is because you're not that religious. So, and by the way, this is one of the issues. It's clear that an atheist would also have problems hearing about women shaving their hair. So the point is, whenever a person sits and says, I have a problem with it, immediately people sit there and say, hey, non-religious people have a problem with that. And therefore it becomes a substantiation of this religious behavior.
So the funny thing is that someone in a punk band does it, it's like it's...
Yeah, okay, but you're right.
But it's the same idea.
Yeah, but it's a little bit different because, you see, what we are living with, and this is what's so significant with this, and I'm not trying to say this in order to compare those groups to Christians, Chas v'shalom, and Mahavdil, and so forth. But there's an attitude in our world today that religion is tied to asceticism. Okay?
Sorry, what's asceticism?
Asceticism is the denial of pleasure. It's like
celibacy, right?
Celibacy. I mean, the fact
like
is,
a priest.
The priest takes a vow of poverty, a vow of celibacy. There's an idea that physical pleasure is not a not a religious value, or the physical is not a religious value. The problem is that that really is supported by the normal view of religion. Christianity, Buddhism, you see it from Buddhist monks, you see it from different people, where there's a perception that denial of the physical is problematic, or denial of the physical is a religious value. You're more religious if you deny the physical, and you're less religious if you sort of support the physical. The fact is that usually people look at religion along a simple spectrum. There's religious and less religious. And the perception is that it's one simple spectrum. If you're more religious, it's over here, and if you're less religious, it's over there. So the woman who wishes to look good or to wear makeup is looked upon as being along the spectrum. Well, that's not really a religious behavior. And it's supported by the fact that non-religious people like that also. But if you're a woman who's willing to say, I don't care what I look like, then his perception is that that's more religious. And what I'm getting at is that's the way a lot of people look at religion. The fact is that it presents a religious problem from a Jewish perspective, because from a Jewish perspective, the view of religion is much more complicated. For example, one of the arguments against women shaving their hair, which other Rabbanim raise, is how can a woman do that? She won't look as good for her wife. For her husband. She won't change that. Get that out. She won't look as good for her husband. Okay, you're right. She won't look as good for her husband. Now that's not saying that there's no. Excuse me. That's not saying that there's no inherent value. And she's saying, hey, she wants to look good in her own right. But the fact of the matter is the husband-wife relationship is a physical relationship. And it's a relationship that is built upon the mutual affection and sexual interest of the two parties. So between the two parties, there's a value in the physical attraction of each other. So the point of the matter is, if you look in halacha and so forth, you'll find that there's an idea. The wife wants to look attractive for her husband, and it's actually a value to that. Okay? The point is that
isn't it biblical?
Yeah, I mean the fact is every one of the imahot we're told that they were beautiful.
Well, it's like with the little kiar, with the mirrors, and
the fact of the matter is you're referring to a famous medrash.
What about
the medrash? The medrash says. Let me just tell you. The medrash says that the women wanted to bring their mirrors to give to the Mishkan, their gold mirrors to help in the building of the Mishkan. And Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to take them at first, because these mirrors were something to make them look good and for attraction, and they felt that it was tied to something that he felt that's not what we want in the Mishkan. The Kodesh Baruch Hu says, no, those mirrors are remarkably of value to me. Why? Because of those mirrors that Klal Yisrael grew in Egypt. What would happen? The husbands would go off to work as slaves all day long, right? And they'd be exhausted. What did the women do? Well, first of all, they brought them food, drinking, and so forth and so forth. But what else did the women do? The women looked in their mirrors to make themselves look attractive. So what happened is that husbands came home, they were really tired and so forth and so forth. But the women made themselves look so attractive that basically they seduced their husbands to sleep together, and out of that, the women got pregnant and had more children. So Kodesh Baruch Hu says, because of those mirrors, Klal Yisrael grew in Egypt. So therefore, there was a tremendous value to that. The fact is, though, is that within a Torah perspective, we look upon beauty as having a purpose in building the relationship between a husband and wife. Okay, and the fact is, there's a value in beauty. Okay, so the point is that there's an idea that you look upon things from a narrow perspective, that narrow religious perspective. It's like, are we in favor of celibacy? No, because there's a place for the physical. It's a very different perspective than let's say the Catholic perspective. You were going to say something.
No, I'm just saying, it says in the Torah, Sheker Lechem ve'evel hayofi.
It's in. You're right. It's not the Torah. Well, Sheker Lechem ve'evel hayofi is actually from it's actually from Mishlei. The fact is that it's from Eishes Chayon and so forth. Yeah. The fact is that it's a really problematic pasuk. The truth of the matter is that in terms of priority, right? Yofi is not like you think in terms of Greece. Greece put beauty as the number one value. In Greece, beauty was the number one value. But at the other point in time, the truth is that pasuk of Sheker Lechem ve'evel hayofi is a very problematic pasuk because it has to be read with other psukim where chen is looked upon very positively. For example, who do we say matzah chen? Matzah chen.
Matzah chen b'einai?
B'einai everyone.
Matzah chen is like whatever to your opinion.
No, but who's a famous person who's matzah chen?
Oh, I'm not sure. What? I thought you were asking.
There's a famous person. When we say Sheker Chen ve'evel hayofi, the Chen is misleading. The Hevel Yofi and Yofi seems to be Hevel seems to be relevant. You can't sit there and say Yofi is no value whatsoever. Says Noach matzah chen b'nei Hashem. No, it says Noach matzah chen. You're right.
So it's part of the Kabbalah, yeah.
Right. Noach matzah chen b'nei Hashem. The fact of the matter is, he said by Noah, he found favor in the God's eyes. I was thinking of someone else with matzah chen.
Okay.
You're right. Noah also matzah chen. That's possible there. Yeah, but the fact of the matter is Esther. Esther was the person who found chen in everyone. Okay, everyone found chen with Esther. So the point is that there's an issue of what does it mean by Sheker Chen, because at the same point in time, as you point out from Noah, other people are praised for gaining chen. So the truth is that it's a little bit of a chen. The problem is translating what chen means. Right. Chen means charm. Now the truth of the matter is charm can be. The fact is as you see this with personality. When you say the guy has personality, the guy is charming, right? The point is, just because someone's charming doesn't mean the person is a good person. Mm-hmm. The fact is that charming by itself, by itself can be problematic, right? You can have politicians who are very, very charming, and boy, you're really concerned if they ever got into power. There are other people, because of their personality and the fact that they are charming, they're able to but they're also good people. So the fact of the matter is that there's a value of charm, but with many, many different things, you have to know how to use it. Yofi is also, Greeks felt that beauty was the number one thing, right? For us, beauty has its purpose. The Beis Hamikdash was a beautiful building. All our imahot were beautiful. Okay, and if you look at it, it's like Yifas Torah. Everyone, why does the Kodesh Baruch Hu take all the imahot were Yifas Torah? The fact of the matter is they're all beautiful. The truth is because there's a value in a human being being beautiful. They say that the Benos Yisrael are really beautiful. More says Benos Yisrael are really beautiful, and if they don't look at it, it's because of the tircha of the galus. because of the problems of being oppressed. But the fact is that beauty can be used for good and beauty can be used for bad. So these things tell you they can be used for good and be used for bad. So what Shlomo Melch was basically saying is you got to take chen with those, you got to be very careful about those things. And if you go through Mishlei, all the lessons of Mishlei, if you look, there are many things that Shlomo Melch was pointing out to you that this is good, but be careful. It can be a little bit bad. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So the fact of the matter is that that's why in terms of what we think the right view is the Shvil HaZahav, it's a Shvil Beinoni of the Rambam, the middle path, where you know how to balance things and to use it. But the fact is that the issue of women shaving their hair, there were already people who were upset with it because they felt that took away from the necessary attraction, or from the attraction that was necessary in the husband-wife relationship. Yes, they should be sexually attracted to each other. Yes, husband and wife should have a good sexual relationship. Yeah.
But after she gives first birth, she's not looking the same. So what if you lose the sexual attraction? It can happen. No, let's be realistic.
Okay.
After the first child.
That's a very interesting question. The fact of the matter is that by the way, he's not talking out of nowhere. I forget who it was, but it's a pasuk in Bereshis.
I understand. You don't think so?
There's a pasuk in Bereshis about a guy about someone. What was it? Was it Lemach? Someone had two wives. One wife was for children, and one wife was never to get pregnant, so she could maintain her beauty.
That's
right. That's total Te'avon. We don't look upon it too positively. The fact of the matter is that the attraction. The point is that is it possible that after someone has a child, they won't be as attractive to the husband? I hope the person is a little bit more meaningful than that. The truth of the matter is that attraction is not just physical attraction. The attraction between, when we talk about attraction, it is not, attraction is not just physical. Attraction has a moral, an emotional, moral aspect to it. The fact but the point is, it also has a physical dimension. The point is that the dimension of attraction that happens between husband and wife is on many different planes. But it is a physical attraction. It's not the one-dimensional attraction that is portrayed in the advertisements, where you only look at the physical. The point is that there are many different dilemmas on it, but the attraction is manifested in the physical. You expect there to be a physical attraction between husband and wife. That physical attraction may be on different planes, but the point is it does manifest itself as a physical attraction. Now, the big difference with that, you see, what it comes down to is this. Celibacy, in a Catholic perspective, has a problem because it's perceived to be, or the lack of celibacy is perceived to be self-serving. It goes back to the definition of love. In the Catholic perspective, the highest form of love is the love of a parent to a child, which is totally, in their perspective, giving. Okay? The reason that what happened in Catholicism is the reason they challenge sexual love is because sexual love has a self-interest. Because the person who has sexual love wishes to have sexual satisfaction with the person that they're having relations with. So it's perceived to be that it's self-serving. So the point is that it's not a total giving love, because in the Catholic perspective, or in that perspective, it's the idea that the person has a need that the person is satisfying through this other person. So it's not a totally giving love. It is a love that it also serves the purpose, because the person is having sexual satisfaction in that event. That's why celibacy is a value within them, because it leads to a love that's totally giving. I don't get anything back. It's nothing in it that I'm getting out of this. In terms of sexual love, you are getting something out of it because you are satisfying your sexual drive. From a Torah perspective, though, the fact that you're fulfilling a drive in yourself is not a problem. The point is that the reason you have that drive from a Torah perspective is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu has created you with various needs. In other words, when we talk about, people talk about the enjoyment of learning Torah, okay? The fact is that, hey, God created you with a drive and to enjoy learning Torah. And that's why you want to learn Torah. In other words, from our perspective, HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates you with drives that you should feel satisfied with, because it means that your needs are being fulfilled. Your correct desires are being fulfilled. So the fact that you have a desire to have relations with your wife, Alpi Halacha, and so forth, that's the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you. In other words, he's not, from a Catholic perspective, drives are always self-serving, and therefore you always want to. Therefore, if to be totally given, you never want to do something for yourself. But the point is that from our perspective, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you with drives.
Right.
Okay, you need to eat. God created you with a desire to eat. Why? Because you need to eat, and the fact that when you eat, it tastes good. That will reinforce upon your drive. If you have to use your seichel and not just stuff yourself on sugar, yes. The point is, the fact that you should love learning Torah, the fact that Torah learning can be enjoyable, that's great. Does that mean you're in touch with your drive to enjoy learning Torah? Does that mean that Yaakov had a desire for Rachel? It meant that was who he was supposed to be with. That was the person he was supposed to be with, and that was his Meshert, and according to standard pshat. And the fact is that's a manifestation. So we perceive our Creator as much more in line with creating there's a little bit of a monkey wrench in this, because there's a challenge what we call Yetzor and Yetzor Tov, which can lead you to make mistakes. But the fact is our drives, from a Torah perspective, our drives have a purpose. So the fact that you want to eat makes sense. It's like it's the way God created you. The fact that you want to have relations with your beshert in order to create children, and out of that comes the creation of children, then that's something it's understandable why God created you with that desire, because God's a good creator. It's like, if you create a car, right? God's a good creator of the car, right? The horn is supposed to work, and the radio is supposed to work. Turn on the radio and it doesn't work. So the point is, the car, in order to do what it's doing. So if the car had a seichel and said, my job is to be a good car. So, hey, I like it when you turn on the radio, because it means I'm being a good car. I like it when the antifreeze is working, because it means a good car. So the point is that when we get pleasure, we're not looking at it as a negative thing. We're looking at it as that's the way God created us. The only thing is there's a little bit of a challenge. We have to know that there's certain things that are good for us as pleasure, and then things that aren't good for us. And that makes much more sense. So, but the fact is that it becomes a very different perspective. So, the truth is that one of the timeless, in terms of getting back to that hair shaving thing, was the fact that people decided no, it will affect the marriage. Now, your question is that are there people who somehow lose the attraction of their wife after they have...
That wasn't my question. I'm saying maybe when Shlomo Melech wrote that Sheker Echem Evel Hayofi, what it means, they don't put the beauty, the physical beauty in front of as a main thing.
Right. That's
what I meant. I'm not saying
Sheker Echem Evel Hashem Hitzal.
Because if you put physicality, it's going to go away after the first baby. That's the truth.
Well, the fact is that
not always.
Not always. It doesn't.
I guess today we have plastic surgery, but
no, it's
really well.
Yeah, but when you have a religious lifestyle with 15 children running around, you know.
Yeah, okay. So
it's hard to.
But you know,
I don't know.
You see, you're raising another issue here when you talk about. You know, it's very, very interesting. You're raising the issue about 15 kids. It's actually an interesting question because I just want to go off of that for a little tangent because there's people who don't recognize this. But there are shittas that hold that if you want to use birth control in order to ensure that for the benefit of raising your kids in a more orderly way, there are shittas that hold that that's totally okay. Okay, up to a certain time. I think one person holds that the fact is a woman nurse, you can nurse until for 5 years until the baby's 5. And therefore, there's certain shittas that hold up until 5. You can make decisions. You know, you can make decisions that you can consider the quality of the upbringing of the child because you're allowed to nurse till 5. After that, then it's a little more difficult to say use birth control. But the fact is that. It's interesting when you said that, and it's not about this issue, but the fact is it's again another issue. It's a question where again, birth control is a remarkably complicated issue. Okay, a lot of different shittas, what's mutter, what's not mutter, and stuff like that, and so forth and so forth. But the fact is that again it comes an issue of thinking. There's certain people who think that the only from viewpoint is that you have to you can't use any birth control. The fact of the matter is there are clearly people who say that if your reason for using birth control is because you feel your child needs more attention from you and so forth, then that is a good reason to use birth control.
Didn't they talk about the sponge in the Gemara anyway?
There's different issues with birth control, yes. The fact of the matter is they talked about different issues of birth control and when's it okay and when's it not okay. The fact of the matter is there are a lot of different mafoksim, especially with new forms of birth control. But the point is that I'm only bringing that up because just the way you said that is that I don't think a person can sit there and say, listen, use birth control because I want you to look better. I don't think that's what we're saying here. But the fact is, the fact of the matter is that on the other hand, if there are a lot of issues in terms of the woman's well-being, in terms of her own physical well-being, in terms of her emotional ability. I mean, the fact is a lot of people, they feel they have to have kids one after another, and their kids are messes, right? They have 15 kids, and they have no idea of how to bring. That has to be a consideration.
Sometimes they're good though. There's
there's for sure families that's remarkable.
Yeah.
There are remarkable. Something. The fact of the matter is there are remarkable families with a large amount of kids and so forth. What I'm saying is, and let me sort of phrase it this way. It's one thing when you do an action which is clearly going to be perceived in the world as religious. What that usually means is that it's denial of your own interest. Okay, it's totally like negates the physical. It's almost like what you're interested in is irrelevant. You got to do what's religious and what's right, and it almost becomes this denial of self or denial of physical or so forth. What happens is that it's a problem because the people who usually argue against it are oftentimes people who don't have any religious values to begin with. So you hear a person who challenges a woman having 15 kids, it might be like an atheist woman or a woman's liber who has no shaykhs to values of Torah. So by the fact that she's arguing this, you immediately already have a negative feeling about the argument, that it doesn't have a place within Torah. The fact is, though, is that only makes it more difficult. Because what you find is that in certain circumstances, you do see that argument within Torah. Because the Torah understands there's a place for self-expression. There's a place for the concern for the physical. The fact of the matter is, what the Torah demands is seichel. And that's a shil hazav of the Rambam. Where basically you have to balance out things.
And your shil hazav was just strictly Rambam?
No,
he's the one that came up with that?
No, the fact of the matter is that
Golden path.
I mean, usually he's the one that's referred to as shil hazav, but the truth is that the argument, I don't think I see the golden path usually is not referred to, but the argument is found also in the Gemara, but not as succinctly stated as the Rambam. Okay, but the fact is that it's a matter of balancing. The problem exists in the sense that in so many ways, in so many ways, religion becomes attacked, or religion is problematic because you're thrown into a world where you almost have to associate, where you become on side with other religious perspectives. Like, I'll give you an example in the modern world today. There's a problem with Obamacare. The problem with Obamacare is...
It's problem with Obama. Obama is just one big problem.
Okay, let's deal with Obamacare. Okay, what? Okay.
You don't need to care. Just problems with Obama.
Okay. Let's not deal with
politics.
Let's not deal with Obama's foreign policy. Let's deal with his domestic policy in terms of Obamacare. One of the problems with Obamacare is that employers have to offer birth control in the health insurance programs that they have the health insurance policies they offer their employees. So there are certain people who have a difficulty offering birth control in their health care programs. Ones are all the Catholic churches and all the Catholic hospitals. There's a tremendous amount of Catholic hospitals in the United States. So these hospitals don't want to offer the birth control policies, access to birth control in their health care policies, which is contrary to Obamacare. Okay. So that has been a big issue. It's also an issue with some others, and it's also an issue with some from places. I think it also touches upon abortion as well. So that leads to problems within from places. So what occurs is that the issue arose that Obama, the whole system has a loophole. If for religious reasons you can't offer something that's in the legislation, you can opt out, and we'll provide and your employees can go to another source to get that program. Okay, so basically, you don't have to pay for it because it's contrary to your religions, to your religious values. But your employees have to be offered it from another source, and then they work it out in terms of payments and stuff like that. I guess. But the fact is you don't directly have to pay for it. There's a way around it. So what happened is almost every firm institution who had this problem said, okay, we'll opt out, and the loophole works for us. There was one Catholic group, I think it was a nunnery or something like that, who basically said, we don't want to do that either. We can't be involved whatsoever in this, and even the loophole doesn't work for us because we'll still be causing this to happen. Okay? So they made a whole big deal that we can't even use the loophole. Okay? And they tied it against some Orthodox groups. How can you do it and use the loophole? Okay? And they said, listen, how can you do it, use the loophole? So the point is that the Orthodox groups, basically what happened, they went to them and said, why don't you use the loophole? And they said, we can't use the loophole because that's also assisting in this. But it's not directly assisting. It's the loophole allows us to do it. So there was a whole issue. But it turned out that the firm people were willing to lose the loophole, and it seems to be that even most Catholics were willing to lose the loophole, but this one group was saying, hey, you still are contrary to the loophole. Okay, so the point is that you hear about this, they sound like really righteous, really pursuant to their belief, they're absolutely correct. So they come across and say, you see, we're more religious than you guys because we're not even using the loophole. Okay, what's the problem with that though? Okay, so the fact is that, and this is the Chachmas HaTorah. This is the Chachmas HaTorah. Because the fact is that Torah works in the real world. And it understands certain things. And this doesn't mean you're going to matter everything. This doesn't mean that there's no listening either, and so forth and so forth. But the fact of the matter is you have to understand the context of the world that you're working in. So, for example, there's a famous answer of Moshe Feinstein, who was the Posek Ador, until he was nifter, I think, in 86. And even to this day, you walk around anywhere, mention Ramosha, that's it. Okay, it doesn't mean we always paskin like Ramosha, but if you say Ramosha, that means you're going to be listened. Okay, so Ramosha was asked the following question about abortion. He said, when the whole issue of pro-life and pro-choice came up, Ramosha was asked by Agudas Yisrael, policy department, public policy, should we be pro-choice or pro-life? What should we be? Okay? Now, what do you think the simple answer is?
Pro-life.
Pro-life. That would be the simple answer, because we're basically hold that abortion is awesome. Okay? There's certain times it's mutter and something, but the fact of the matter is we would think that we're more in the pro-life. We for sure do not agree in pro-choice. You can abort just because you want to abort. And pro-choice in Europe, for example, is basically a form of birth control. It's like there's no issue whatsoever. But the fact of the matter is pro-choice means it's your decision. There's no reason not to do it. Okay, so most people would sit there and say we should be pro-life. Moshe told the Agudas Yisrael, you have to support pro-choice. Okay? Now why did he do that? Because he understood that in America there were pro-life forces who were against abortion even in cases when it was halachically demanded. Okay? There are certain situations where abortion is halachically mandated. It's not even a choice. It's like you have to abort to save the mother in certain cases, and there are certain pro-life individuals who say you can't abort in those cases, like partial birth abortion. In certain situations, the mother's life is in jeopardy, and the fetus has not left the mother's body. you have to go in. The Mishnah says you have to go in and even if you have to cut up the fetus to save the mother's life, that would be called a partial birth abortion. If a woman's already in labor, it says if a woman's already in labor and she's not going to make it unless you go in and actually kill the fetus, you have to kill the fetus because the mother's life has priority. So that's a partial birth abortion, and that is mandated. So Ramosha said that there are certain situations of pro-life, that there are pro-life forces that would tell you that would usher abortions even when it's halakhically mandated. Therefore, you can't support a position that will limit the ability to follow halacha. So his point was, if it's pro-choice, pro-choice means a lot of people are going to do a lot of things that are wrong, but the fact of the matter is it will leave Klal Yisrael with the ability to follow halacha. So the fact is that he understood within this world, you can't have an ideal. You're not the government. The government is the democratic United States. You're living within their world. So what is the best for Klal Yisrael? So the best for Klal Yisrael is to say pro-choice, because that means people who want to follow halacha can follow halacha. Okay, and that case has come up many, many times, where you make a decision in the context of the world you're living with. It's not what is the ideal halachic decision if you were having a halachic country. It's given the laws of this land, what is the best solution? Okay? Now the fact is given the laws of this land, okay, they have these things in Obamacare and all these other things. The fact is that the halacha has to be a decision given the parameters. That doesn't mean you do an avera chas v'shalom. It means you make decisions in the context of the parameters you're working with. So basically, people said that loophole was enough to say, okay, I'm not involved anymore because the laws of lifnei iver are very technical and stuff like that. So the point is you can sit there and say, listen, that loophole does not violate lifnei iver. It's not our ideal, but it works. But the fact is, it shows you that Torah actually has chachma. It also shows you that Torah considers a full human being. That's a big difference. And that's where you see different viewpoints in terms of looking at things and saying, there's balancing.
So it goes back to what we were talking about, that you perceive notions and our own kind of...
We have a lot of notions about religion. And the fact of the matter is some of them are right and some of them are really influenced from the world around us. You know? Anyways, any comments? No comments.
All right.